Hello and welcome into the 2026 Dragon Warrior Randomizer Summer Tournament. After a brief rest, we are back with a nightcap race. This time we're jumping over to the Hawksness group. We have atomraptors on the left, and we have Nightdew on the right. Meanwhile, once again on the Restream crew, we have Tanuki Restreaming, joined by NGDave Tracking, and it is once again myself and Diabetes in the commentary booth. How you feeling about this late race, Diabetes?
I'm feeling pretty good, thank you, sir. And thanks for joining me again. Again, this is another one that is important. Not a lot of races, I don't believe, having been done quite yet in the Hawksness group, but atomraptors at 0-2. This is a 6-player group, so only 5 races. Really is going to want to win as many of these as possible, starting tonight versus Nightdew, 0-1. So still has 4 races, a little bit more leeway, but really wants to get on the board in the win column here as well.
Yeah, so far the only racer to have more than 2 races under his belt is Beta, so the group is very much still to be determined on the top 3 slots, so this is very important for both these racers.
Quick look at the starting stats and levels and such. 8 strength, not a lot to work with, but we do have the spell of Hurt along with 8 MP to cast, so it should be a fairly straightforward opening. We'll see what our runners like to do depending on what is available in the throne room. As they kick off simultaneously, you love to see it. We got Loto on the left, we got Mara on the right. Dragon Warrior 1 versus Dragon Warrior 4.
And in the center, as always, King Lorik, unfortunately. Ooh. Well, you don't technically need both of these items, but the game really wanted to make sure they both had access to plentiful keys, I guess.
Yeah, again, it'll be an interesting combination here. So effectively a triple key start, both of them using the wings to escape, maintaining both keys.
Could potentially see one of them go for a gold grind, maybe, but there wasn't gold in the chest, so you'd have to give up. What's it? Oh no, wait, there was a key in there too, wasn't there? No, that's the second key. Yeah, because there's gold there. So yeah, you would have to give up the keys to do it, but could potentially be useful if they see a town. But right now they've got Hurt, so not really much reason unless the cannon is 2 tiles off screen to the north with all the items. I don't really imagine we'll probably see a reset for a gold grind.
Probably not, I wouldn't imagine, but you never know. Just happen to see, or have to see what happens here. We had Silver Harps with the first quest item for both of the runners there in the treasury, along with Herb Gold and a Cursed Belt. That's our first Cursed Belt.
Meanwhile, underneath we have Tablet Cave, no outside, so you would have to once again run in and run out. Atomraptor's making very short work of it though, and we'll find a drum roll. Well, would have found a key, but it bought all the keys he could hold.
Well, not a whole lot of help there, since keys were not a problem at the start of this one. Plentiful keys. But we'll see what we have to work with outside. Again, with her, there really shouldn't be too much difficulty. I can't imagine we're going to have a lot of exploration pressing, other than to perhaps try to find where the zone boundaries are for zones 1 and 2.
Battle Scorpion, a fantastic enemy. Sadly, I feel like it might not be gettable in that desert there, and unfortunately it also back attacked Atomraptors, so that's going to be a first death of the seed.
Yeah, that's a fantastic enemy to see, but that ambush is really costly there. Again, unfortunately, 12 agility. The Metal Scorpion, the most agile of the Zone 0, 1, and 2 complement of enemies, as Nightdew encounters the same fate. Elects to try to run, but is not going to be able to get away. Warlock this time for Atomraptors. More likely to 3-hit this, so it might just be not enough, or looking for low rolls. He gets the low roll, the second. Ooh. 1 HP, baby!
Game Lucas also noting in chat that technically with a key in Tablet Cave under the basement, it is possible to do a gold grind and keep your keys. That said, we have not seen an imminent town, so hard to imagine either of them is going to rush out for that. Especially now getting hurt, heal more. Stoneman with Stop Spell. That is an interesting enemy to keep in the back pocket for later, but right now... Ooh, and hurt more as well, so double more on that.
15-4-9-0 at the combined levels 2 and 3 for Atomraptors. Nightdew still looking to get on the board here. Both of them have gone up, and it looks like Tanthagil is at the very top of Zone 0, so this, while it looked like it may be the... it may be the bottom of the map, I don't think it actually is. Unless they, I guess, deviated slightly off, but that Stoneman to the northwest looks like this is going to be Zone 2 here where this Metal Scorpion is.
Atomraptors buzzing through the early levels. With that first kill down, Nightdew has got a bit more leeway in terms of resources, so I imagine we'll starting to get more and more on the board now as well. And meanwhile, Druins have hurt more, so a lot of casting from all sides early on in the seed.
Unfortunately, not a lot of extra MP. In fact, no extra MP at the first 3 levels here for Atomraptors, so still stuck with those 4 hurt casts, granted with no healing and 32 hit points. Probably not going to last too long anyway. But that is something to consider when pressing out exploration to find the Axe Knight. No dice there.
Yeah, I have to imagine with this start, a gold grind anytime soon gets even less and less likely because we've seen bad things in various directions.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to really follow along in those boundaried zones. You're not going to be in zone 0, 1, 2 very long, it seems, going in any direction. Although Nightdew did get away long enough to find a cave, and it is the grave.
Might not be able to make it through here with only 9 HP. That said, did also see a knight and a wolf in the north, but that would have been north west zone. Because I think that's past the part where we saw a Sharlock enemy. Oh, unfortunately, treasure guards somehow rolled on.
Unfortunate. Walk all the way to the treasure chests and don't even get to pick up 1. And this is a scenario where I don't think you rush right back there. It's definitely tempting, because what could be in those 3 chests? But you've got hurt, you've got some enemies that you know you can take down. Nightdew doing, I think, the sensible thing, picking up some more levels before tempting the fates again.
Yeah, it's always a bit dangerous to leave an early grave or mountain unexplored, especially grave because 3 chests are right next to each other. But at the same time, you've got hurt, you've got sleep, you don't have much by way of agility, and I don't know if Nightdew specifically saw any of the Sharlock enemies up there, but you know that the zone boundary has got to be somewhere before that point.
Alright, just up to the north, Atomraptor saw the top of the map, so indeed we are not at the bottom as we suspected. Finds coal and the Stones of Sunlight. It's evening for us, but for the runners it is very fresh. First thing, start of the seed, a nice morning set of warm scones.
I don't know, I love scones enough where I could have them at any point in the day.
Interesting options there for Atomraptors. Broadsword, half plate, silver shield. Could be worth resetting for a gold grind. I mean, 95 XP is kind of a lot to give up, but it would come back quite quickly. But 7.5 minutes in, that's a tough call to make.
Yeah. I think now, especially that he's seen the wolf, probably just doesn't give that up because he can already kill these. And I mean, you already know the grind is sitting there, like you don't technically have to rush back for it. That said, maybe you can't grind these. Maybe these are ungrindable.
Just right, a Commentator's Curse strikes yet again. Another one of those abilities that we hadn't seen yet. Wolf is dangerous. Deal 2 breath. Put it on the board.
That's actually really unfortunate because to the HP total now, you'd really like to find something a little bit better. That said, is that okay? No, that is. So yeah, I wasn't sure if that was the same town or not. But he is going to go past that and just desperately try to find somewhere to be. Oh, and this feels rough. Even though it can kill you, I did this in a race recently, I feel like you gotta do what Atomraptors is doing here and just assume it won't and try to kill it. That said,
it's still the right call. I agree 100%. You've got sleep. At worst, it's 50% DL2 breath, which, I mean, so far we're 2 for 2, but that's definitely the odds-on play. That is way too big of a reward with way too low of a cost to try.
that said, the time exploring for Atomraptors has allowed Nightdew to claw an experience lead back. We'll probably give some of it back attempting to get to that town, but the Axe Knight sends Nightdew home anyway, so...
So Nightdew's in an interesting position, having already seen the grave. If he sees the items there for sale, the broadsword, half plate, silver shield, there is a greater potential to head over to the grave, initiate a gold grind, and force it that way.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Gonna get some gold here, but I imagine after that point, going to be a very tempting, especially now that he's remembered which chest that is, to get just get that gold and go right back.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't think there's anything really here worth buying for just one gold chest.
That said, I don't know that he's going to manage to make it in there with the gold chest anyway. That is the one danger to this, and it's unfortunate because without, like, he doesn't even know if that's Hawksness or not yet. It's hard to make the gamble right now to go into grave and do a gold grind, but obviously that would be the most expedient choice.
Yeah, you can't do a blind grind in this situation. Man, that plains tile encounter rate, right? It's very high from what I remember.
It definitely feels like it's being a bit unkind to them, especially Nightdew is, like, I think Atomraptors was doing a lot of running in that desert zone right next to it, or the desert spot right next to it, which you'd expect to get higher encounter tiles, but for Nightdew, it's just being a bit punishing. I'm curious if he'll try to, like, circle up and then to the left first, because he's kind of been taking the most quickest path there, and he's doing it again. But you might be able to skirt that zone potentially. I don't know exactly where the boundaries are, but does make it in. Feels bad when you're 11 minutes into a seed and you're running around the plains trying to get enemies.
Yeah, not ideal. I'm not sure what exactly Atomraptors is looking for here in this zone. I mean, maybe he thinks this is zone 0, but you really don't want zone 0 at this point.
I think he was probably hoping it was the north zone and was trying to get it without being in the diagonal, because there are metal scorpions in the north zone. So I think that's probably what he was going for. One would give him the level. That said, this will also give him the level here. Meanwhile, Nightdew doing some incidental shopping, having surrendered the lead back to Atomraptors, but still has a bit of an experience of an exploration. There we go, lead.
All right, level 6 for Atomraptors. Didn't catch the full numbers there. I think we did have a big HP boost, which is kind of nice. Up to 59. Doesn't quite make the DL2 breath survivable, but it definitely helps out with survival overall.
I mean, DL2 breath maxes out at 50%, right? How often can it possibly come up?
Definitely not 100% of the time, I'm pretty sure. To be fair, that wolf killed with a physical attack, but still.
Let's be honest, he only did that because he knew the physical would kill anyway, and he didn't want to roll one of his Hurtmores out, so he was just doing the option that let him Hurtmore you, not Hurtmore, DL2 you later.
That's true. How many MP does DL2 breath cost? I'm not sure.
Not enough. Ooh, and on Nightdew's side, back attacked by a golem doesn't feel good. We'll be curious if Nightdew goes for the gold grind now. Again, did see the shop in coal now, so does have that knowledge.
Does seem to be heading in that direction. Again, still 22 agility, hasn't hit the level 6 yet for the extra HP boost. We'll get it here off this Warlock, but it's tough. Anytime to explore at these early levels, low stats, likelihood of getting ambushed, likelihood of getting run blocked, as we saw that just happen to atomraptors again on the Axe Knight. It's still, I think, pretty worth, because if you can secure that, that is a huge boost. What, 36 points of extra defense plus 20 extra attack points? That's hard to pass.
Nightdew hasn't found out about the breath now, but has been informed. Yeah, it feels honestly like, oh, and we have Grave on Atomraptor's side just on the edge of the screen, but it feels like getting a gold grind here would be potentially very useful just via the fact that at this point, with a weapon, you'd be out damaging hurt anyway, so...
Yeah, plus that extra defense, all those enemies that are sort of not only your Zone 1 and 2 enemies, but your first set of non-bounded zone enemies. The Wraith, like, for example, that we see on Atomraptor's side, we did see a Druid Lord to the north earlier. Like, those mid-game enemies would all be broken with that big set of defensive upgrades.
Nightdew managing to get away from the Knight appropriately. I think it's actually still at the point where you're better to sleep than run, but obviously that doesn't come up often enough to often be that big of a knowledge point. Oh, and we have a second treasure guard.
Well, we found a lot of what we've already found. Third cursed belt, I believe that is, as well as gold and second cursed belt, third key, and another gold chest. So both of them have a gold grind set up if they want it. Looks like they're both going to try to take out these wraiths on the way to doing so. Smart. It's worth a lot. But I imagine we're going to see a couple of death warps and a couple of gold grinds.
Yeah, there's really no reason not to at this point. The only reason you wouldn't is if you didn't actually like fully parse and write down what the shop had. Nightdew is going to head towards the stairs while doing it. At this resource value seems a bit adventurous to try, but I mean, on the upside, keys are literally everywhere in the entire seed, so it's not like you need to worry about using one.
I mean, you do have the Wraith here. It's not the worst, but it certainly would be a lot better if you already have a broadsword and some defensive equipment in hand, so it's probably a bit better to just go ahead and commit to the gold grind if you're going to do it. Looks like Atomraptor's is out of resources and is about to head in that direction.
Unfortunately, got the wrong enemy for it. The poltergeists are never useful. There's the first death to set up the gold grind. A Nightdew not far behind. That said, it feels like Nightdew is making it toward the stairs and is actually trying to... Nightdew isn't going for the gold grind, presumably. I'm curious if this death that he was trying to avoid will convince him otherwise, because there's not a lot of reason not to go for the gold grind here. Except, oh no!
Oh, bad order of operations for Atomraptors. Unfortunately, picks up that gold chest before getting to number 9.
Meanwhile, Nightdew decides not to go for the gold grind. That is... Ooh, that's not going to be a great situation for either of them. This is a bit rough.
Doubly surprising.
Arturus in chat asking what the gear was in coal. I don't remember the full list, but there definitely was the silver shield and some other various gear, so a massive improvement over their current situation.
Broadsword and half plate are also available, so it's not the best stuff that money can buy, but it's pretty darn good for level 6, and now level 7 for Nightdew.
Beyond that, there's basically no reason, like, You can always argue on if you should ever gold grind for like magic armor, for flame sword, because technically you're not going to want to end the game with them in most seeds. There's really there's no shield better than the silver shield. You're not going to find that in a chest somewhere. There's really no reason to turn it down ever. Except, of course, if you're doing a repel grind, but that ship is not sailing at all today.
All right, atomraptors is set up again, so hopefully a quick egress via Axe Knight or otherwise. Looks like he's going to head toward the stairs. I think this is kind of what Nightdew perhaps had in mind, although Nightdew elected not to go for the gold grind at all. Was like, I'll see if I can get as far as I can. If I can fully clear Grave along the way, great. If not, fine. We'll come back later if necessary, but... So I do like this from atomraptors, and we'll see if he's able to at least dig one out here.
I always dislike it myself personally, but that's mostly just because I know what's going to happen if I try it. I'm going to get to like the 4th chest, get it, it's going to be nothing, and then I'm going to orphan the 5th chest for a long while, and then it's going to end up being like armor or sword or acquired trading item or something like that.
That's true, it does disincentivize that final chest even more. Unfortunately, atomraptors were not even able to get to 4. The Wraith was dodging. So still the count was at 3. 3 more by entering the throne room, and now chest number 3 and 4 here in the treasury get us over the limit. So gold grind active for atomraptors. We'll see how much he picks up. I imagine it's going to be somewhere around 17,300. That'll be enough for those 3 pieces. I don't think this is a situation where you overgrind in anticipation of finding the other stuff elsewhere. So I think that would probably be all he's going to buy this seed.
With better stats, you can do that, but 21 MP, 30 agility, 60 HP, like there's nothing here to convince someone to grind more in the anticipation of managing to get through a bunch of zones after that. Nightdew has managed to make a fair bit of exploration progress on his side, but again, runs into like the 4th or 5th Sherlock zone somewhere out there. So it would be adventurous to go beyond that.
And indeed, atomraptors cuts it off just about 18,000. Plenty to buy all the big stuff, fill up on herbs, stay at the inn if necessary. Does smartly save with the king, just in case. We have seen some dangerous enemies up to the northeast, so it's not a free walk. Likely walk, but not free.
Meanwhile, trying to make it to level 8, getting pretty close. Two more of those metal scorpions would do it.
Alright, equipment upgrades in the books for atomraptors. We'll see what he elects to do now. Unfortunately, the Axe Knight is the only enemy you really don't want to see in this situation. While you can swing at it, it's just going to do a little too much damage. It's possible, but not very likely with only 2. Oh, it's got hurt. With only 2 heal mores, you don't have a lot of room to work with here, unfortunately. So it's not impossible, but we'll see.
I think it's probably worth the reward attempt given the 30 agility, but if I had more agility, I probably wouldn't be trying it. I think the herbs, though, is just pretty much always going to be a losing strategy, and sadly then gets dodged.
Oh boy, if you don't know, Axe Knight, one of the handful of enemies outside of Zone 0 that has 1 in 64 chance to dodge. So that is extremely unlucky. Not sure that he would have won on that swing anyway, but that is unfortunate, to say the least.
Yeah, I wasn't fully counting it, but I think it was probably in the realm of, like, I think it could have happened if he got that swing to land.
Nightdew did pick up level 8 in the process, 6919 outside. So again, we've got good movement here. Still no repel, which would be the other thing to really grind and be benefit, or to have benefit from with all that extra defensive equipment. So we just really haven't seen a great grind opportunity, even with all that extra defensive equipment. There's like 1 or 2 enemies in each zone that we've seen here near start that is problematic, like that red dragon for atomraptors.
Yeah, I think the Wraith is probably the best enemy. I think it was over here, but I think it's probably in with the Axe Knight. Or wait, no, was there a Wraith over there? I know there was one in Gray, but I thought it was one in the overworld too. There was at the very least a Knight over here, which is a pretty decent enemy. Still in the range where you're going to have to do some heal mooring, but it's at least much more achievable than its more experienced relative. Nightdew did a couple cycles of the gold chest and is going to get up to broadsword that way, so we'll at least be equaling the offensive gear.
And he already did have the large shield, so it's less urgent potentially, or there's less upside for doing the gold grind now. So that's a fair decision or a fair play there. But it's really gonna come down to, you already had it set up earlier. Why not just do it that first time through in the grave? But we'll see if it comes back and is something that he pursues later on. Although it looks like he's heading back into the grave now. Not sure why you would grind for the broadsword first and then head back in, but it is what it is. Druid Lord's another good enemy in this same zone.
Yeah, I might be going for this zone. There's the Druid Lord, there's the Wraith. Could also be trying to deep dive it, although we saw how that worked out for Adam. That said, a little bit of extra leveling and gearing now could do Nightdew some wonders. Yeah, looks like going for the deep dive. Could end up going poorly at 30 MP, and with the Axe Knight up here too, might have trouble even getting there. Meanwhile, on Adam's side... Oh, go ahead.
No, you got it.
Yeah, meanwhile, on Adam's side, he's found the other big cache of chests in Mountain Cave. I'm not exactly sure where this was.
I didn't have a firm handle on. I think this was further south past Grave and then looping down around. This looks to be perhaps the western edge of the map. Not sure. Whatever it is very isolated. Gold in the top chest. Let's see if we have a full clear of all 4 bottom floor chests.
Very strange time to be worried about a wolf, but they are worrisome in this seed, so that top floor is potentially a very unlucky roadblock if you get back attacked or run blocked. Whoa.
A quick couple of Erdrick's pieces right there. We got the Jabate at first, Erdrick's token, but chest 4, Erdrick's sword.
Can we go 3 for 3 and get those armor on the final chest?
Oh.
Nope. Meanwhile, Nightdew, I don't think Nightdew made it to the 4th chest. Maybe did. Did at the very least make it to a zone with a red dragon deeper into Grave. So that is honestly just skip those chests for now, probably.
Nightdew just not getting the encounter luck here. Oh my goodness, yet another Sharlock enemy, another armored knight, not letting him get away. Still has a very slight XP lead, which is about to be given up here. really needs to either settle into a grind or potentially consider that gold grind.
Yeah, I was gonna say on Adam's side, now having Silver Shield and Erdrick Sword, I would be considering settling down for a grind. That said, he did wander into a place with a town and a cave, so we'll almost certainly be shelving the gold grind for now, or the regular grind for now. That said, is going to be sent home before he can find out what they were.
Unfortunate turn of events. That could be a situation. 104 attack power. Just try to press through and win that fight as opposed to running. I mean, 39 agility is not the worst, but it's also not great. It is bad luck either way.
Also, technically, with like even getting to the point where you were running in the first place, he was trying to fight that Star Ribbon at first, and at 104 AP, like even with the HP being bad and the MP being bad, you fancy your chances to at least take out one.
Nightdew sent back again. Another Stone Man, just not able to get it done here.
Yeah, on the other side, it looks like atomraptors is going to be heading right back to that town, is exploring with a purpose, so I imagine that's what he's going after. After that, though, he started to, in this area, see more and more grindable zones. There's a Wolf Lord there. There's a Wolf Lord and a Wraith maybe in that single zone. We've also seen Knights close to home. Once you have Erdrick Sword, a lot of those enemies are just absolutely in your kill range.
Oh, 100%. Even the broadsword, I mean, it's doable, obviously, but with the low MP, it's a little bit resource intensive. Erdrick Sword, you gotta be taking every single one of those fights. Town is Garenham. Not really looking for any equipment upgrades. I guess fill up on herbs. Keys are already in hand, so 3 treasure chests plus a cave in the basement.
Does mean that we've seen the 3 top, most of the 3 top, because Nightdew did get to the 4th chest, but not the 5th. So we've seen most of the top 3 locations for chests, and also some NPC blocks. So a lot of the heavy parts of the exploration have been found, and like on Atomraptor's side, like all you're looking for is caves to trade things in and armor, and you're probably done unless you need Death Necklace for some reason.
Well, it is Wing Knight and Garenham. If you got some gold, they will put the torch to the wings for you. So nothing of tremendous value there, unless you're a big Wing fan. And in the basement is the Swamp Cave. So interesting opportunity here. We haven't seen Catelyn, so there is the possibility of a preemptive princess rescue. However, it is worth factoring in. I believe Atomraptors has just 1 key left, so that would not be advisable now. But it is a
does know where
possibility.
Rim is, so, and Rim isn't that far away. That said, I think the Stone Man correctly pointing Adam the other direction.
Yeah, again, you got sleep, so it's definitely a winnable fight, but it's not the type of fight that you really want to see here. Although, without Hurtmore, none of these did you really want to see. Maybe the Axe Knight with Hurt, just because it's a little bit nerfed there, but worth a look.
Meanwhile, level 9, gotten off that Knight, I believe it was, does give Adam an even more bit of AP, but basically nothing else. They're kind of stuck in glass cannon mode right now.
Yeah, they really are. I think it would definitely benefit both of them, more so Nightdew just because of the slightly inferior equipment to this point, to just sit, grind, level up, increase that survivability here, so just really got to avoid. It's kind of funny. I'm seeing so many deaths on Nightdew's side in the last couple of minutes. They both have 15. So it's just Atomraptor's got his out of the way a little bit earlier, and they've been a little bit more productive than Nightdew's have so far.
Screen is, it feels like he's mostly trying to explore northeast past Coal, which we know from Atomraptor's side, unless this all circles back in on itself, is not the direction you're going to find Mountain Cave in. It's not the direction you're going to find Garenham in. There's like everything else was to the southwest past that grave find. So just unfortunately for Nightdew, exploring repeatedly in one direction here, and it's not the direction where most of the good stuff is.
Yeah, so far at least, there's always a possibility of finding something in, Stone's Cave with the armor would be a great pickup for Nightdew or something. It's just something to get him kind of a little bit back of the mix here.
Meanwhile, on Atomraptor's side, the AK sends him home again, so he reclaims the death lead. I think you just gotta settle in for a grind now. Like you've only got to find one more item. Like why try pushing? Like it could be in the bottom of grave. Just find a grind and get to the point where you can check that out. It could also be under the Hawksness spike, which you probably can't beat right now.
Yeah, this zone here straight north of Start, there's a couple of kind of zonk enemies here. We've got the Ghost in here, and the Poltergeist is obviously not great for this stage of the game, but we have seen, I think this is where the Druin Lord and Wraith were living. And those are both serviceable. Not ideal, could be a little bit better, but those are two perfectly serviceable enemies at this stage of the game.
So Ed gets frustrated with the zone and is going to wander over here instead and find a knight. That is another enemy that's very good at this point.
It's pretty good and should be gettable going a little bit further down into those desert tiles. Again, all of our zone boundaries are 15 by 15 tile zones of different enemy sets. We're 5 steps from the top of the map, so that desert is well within range here.
Not to go for that grind, is going to keep presumably trying to explore, or he's decided he likes this zone better.
Stop spell werewolf's pretty good. 2-shot, in fact.
Yeah. Now, obviously, stop spell enemies are better when you have armor, but at this AP value, you can honestly just kill it in 2 swings a not inconsiderate number of times. So if it stop spells you on its first turn, just say thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting that he's not sticking around, so either he didn't like that or just wants to continue to press exploration. Again, with the stats, you got heal more, you've got decent defense, 40 agility is not great, no repel, I probably wouldn't, but sometimes you feel that pressure and you just need to advance and press forward. Not much there on level 10, 191 in Radiant.
I think the biggest thing for Atomraptors that would make me want to sit down and grind is just how much of the seed he's functionally completed and how bad the MP is. Like that's not even 4 heal mores, is it? It's just 3?
Yeah, 3 heal mores. It's not a lot to work with. And we've seen a plethora of Sherlock enemies around. Again, we're sort of in the range where we can fight a few of those. But with the 62 HP, it's just, they're not safe fights. And this is something that I always race and run by is, what could I be doing that's better than what I'm doing right now? If I were to, like, for example, sit and grind here, what could I find something that's going to make that better? Or can I find it, or is it a zone that's going to be better or something? And frankly, I mean, you've got the armor already, or sorry, you've got the sword already. The armor would make a little bit of a difference and help, but you're probably not going to be able to survive on a spike tile. You're not going to find any better offense unless you level up. So you might as well level up. That's really the main way to advance at this stage.
Yeah, for me it's cost-benefit analysis. Like, you go out and explore, what you're really hoping for is to get some levels along the way probably, and to find armor. Well, here's the thing. Armor could be in grave, it could be under a spike tile that you can't beat, and with this resource total and not having little heal especially, and also we've seen a fair bit of swamp, like you're just kind of, it's entirely possible you go out here, get a bunch of encounters like this one, die, and don't find anything. And in that case, you were probably going to be getting faster experience just sitting at home anyway. So like, why not do that instead?
And especially without repel, you're rewalking those same tiles near start over and over and over again, and you're getting the trash mob encounters that you can't get rid of. So it really, really behooves you to just sit and level up. Weak heal for Axe Knight is, again, annoying, but able to be overcome for Atomraptors. I think that's his first Axe Knight that he's taken down, so kudos to him on that, but just about out of resources and a whole lot of swamp in his future.
Have enough to get to that, but does need to herb up, does remember to do it. That would have been a bit dangerous to keep walking at that total. Finds the east edge of the zone, the map here.
At this point, Atomraptors has covered quite a large percentage of the map. Definitely seen at the top of it from northwest to northeast corners. Seen a decent bit along the western edge and kind of down and around. It's really like the southwest and then heading where he's headed now toward the southeast that we really haven't seen a ton of.
Yeah, this is a situation where if I die again, I consider going through swamp, and I hate it if I do, because I absolutely hate going through swamp before I've cleared everything on First Continent. But it's looking potentially likely that Swamp Cave could just be a shortcut to wherever you need to go, so something I'd definitely probably want to consider if I were doing this.
Yeah, and it would be a long walk, or long rewalk of area that you've already been to get to new territory, so that makes total sense. As Atomraptors picks up level 11, again, another not super impressive level, only 1 strength, a little bit of a boost to the hit points, slightly more agility, but still, 34 MP. Not ideal for level 11 with heal more.
Meanwhile, Nightdew still trying to grind the opening area with Star Wyverns in it. Probably not the best zone to be grinding here. Has gotten some experience from it, but has also retaken the death lead, though Atomraptor is getting a bit closer there now.
Well, let's see if Atomraptors takes your advice and heads towards Swamp Cave. I think it's a good idea. That or grind. You gotta. It's one of the two.
Yeah, because you've again cost-benefit analysis. The odds that you make it to the points where you've already gotten to explore again is honestly not that high. And honestly, with Sword and the improved HP total, you kill these Stonemen every single day of the week. Like, they're a much maligned enemy, I feel, but in situations like this, and they have Stop Spell to boot, like, just sleep them. I guess they don't have Stop Spell themselves, but still, if you sleep them and get a couple swings on them, you don't even mind the Stop Spell, because you can probably just, at this AP total, do what Atomraptors just did there, and kill them before it matters.
Yeah, it doesn't feel great, but again, if it makes the XP number go up, who am I to argue?
But again, decides not to go with that zone, and once again gets punished for it. Death's briefly tied, but only for a split second, because Nightdew ran into a wolf with DL2, and those, again, are still very dangerous.
To Artorias' question in chat, I was just thinking the same thing like a minute ago. I don't believe he has, but I could have missed it, so he may still have just the 1 key on Atomraptor's side. If so, he really needs to make his way back to Rim. He could have, of course, purchased keys in the castle, and he doesn't have a huge need for gold from here on out. You're probably not going to be upgrading your armor at any point until you find Erdrick's. But that is something to keep in mind if you were to stumble into, let's say, again, Swamp Cave and maybe consider a preemptive princess rescue. All of his other key-locked locations other than Grave should be covered.
Okay, this is interesting. Nightdew has given up on that zone that he was going into earlier and gone to this zone, which I think is actually probably the best early game zone until you get, like, I think there was maybe a zone later on that was better. But I think this is probably the cream of the crop and is currently breaking the wraiths, so could see the EXP gap close heavily here, and that would be really good for Nightdew, because certainly down in exploration.
Yeah, Nightdew really needs to do this. Probably needed to do this a little bit ago, but this was that zone that we mentioned earlier. The problem is the Ghost and the Poltergeist not being able to repel those without a source of Fairy Waters yet, and no repel on the spell list. But there are at least 2 very good enemies here, with the Wraith and the Druid Lord, so we'll see if, as you said, he can put a little bit of a dent into that XP lead.
Also of note, I believe Nightdew, atomraptors, I believe, skipped going back into Rimmeldar to fill up on keys, maybe? Yeah, still down just the 1. That's a bit dangerous. Obviously, if you find I think technically Cantlin is the only thing you would... I guess it's not that dangerous. Cantlin is the only thing you would actually immediately want to use a key in, and there's a key shop there. But still no reason not to just do it really quickly while you're passing through the area.
I mean, he's in Garenham now. This is where Swamp Cave was it not? So he may plan to go on through. He would be out of keys in that situation, which would not be good.
Yeah, I don't know that I would do it if I'm gonna use keys to do it. Like, again, Rim is super close, but also that means you have to get back to Rim. It's entirely possible if you go through Swamp Cave. Again, you only need armor. So if he goes through Swamp Cave, yeah, he's not gonna do it. You would potentially just be in a situation where you would not need to come back here ever, except for the fact that you used all your keys, potentially. Meanwhile, that zone for Nightdew really starting to equalize the experience gap, reaching level 11 on his side as well, and only about 600 or so down. That said, is looking at their stats and going into coal. Oh no, going to buy something. Okay, yeah, going for a just regular got some gold half plate pickup. That's a good decision. For a moment there, I was worried Nightdew was setting out, and like that's obviously not working out too well for atomraptors so far.
No, but I mean, that's another one of those, what did this level really get me? I spent the time grinding it, I got some agility. So it really wasn't a breakout level that probably Nightdew was hoping for, so it still makes sense, I think, here to try to branch out again. And again, Nightdew in just a slightly inferior position equipment-wise, not having gone west to find Mountain Cave and get that sword yet, really has to be feeling behind, I would imagine, in this one, the way it's gone.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Adam first to level 11 or level 12 did pick up some HP and a little agility. Not too much by way of stats. MP still very much dead in the water.
Up to 120 total attack power here with the sword, so getting closer and closer now at a 5 to 10 range on the Dragon Lord. Of course, the rest of the stats are hot garbo, so they're not going to be good enough. But it does open up the door to fighting a lot of those sort of late game-ish enemies. It's just, again, it's that MP total that you just mentioned. It's really hard to fight red dragons when you're taking hits, and you have 4 heal mores in your pocket. You can fight 1.
This is a bit of a rub for atomraptors. I think he's maybe dead-ended this area down here, which means if there is exploration to continue in this direction, it is through Swamp Cave. I don't think he's dead-ended the northeastern path, but now he's in a situation where he might want to consider going back and getting some keys. Oh, no, it looks like there's a couple bridges up here that he hasn't gone past.
Nightdew again continuing to slowly chip away at that XP lead, down to about 500 at this point. Now down to about 450 after the Magiwyvern kill. Atomraptors. Yeah, he discovered that those bridges don't. It was a bridge to nowhere.
Yeah. as many of them are, and we'll thankfully remember that he's low on keys and picks them up here. But yeah, the other rub is on Nightdew's side, has been chipping that experience lead, but is almost certainly going to take a death here. Might convince him to go back and finish this level off immediately before grinding again. Not that it will, again, gain him too much, but it's better than nothing.
I think we've seen this area of the map before on Atomraptor's side. Unfortunately, there's not really anything over here immediately, and with all this swamp, there's nowhere for a Nightdew to really go.
Like, that was
especially
honestly a blessing in disguise for Nightdew, because I literally don't think Nightdew has enough MP to actually get much further. So, actually, no little heal. So yeah, I think Nightdew was literally stuck there anyway. So honestly, back attack DK. If you're gonna get one in, that's exactly the spot you want it in, probably.
And right on cue, Nightdew right back to the grind. Again, only 148 XP to the next level. Makes sense to pick this up quickly. You never know when that breakout level is. We know it's not going to be the Hurtmore level or like the big agility HP MP boost level, but it is definitely worth taking here very quickly. But I imagine that we're going to see Nightdew immediately after picking it up head right back out, potentially to that swampy area that he just died out of. But potentially going west and south if he hasn't written that off. It's interesting that he hasn't gone back that direction for quite a long time. I hope that he hasn't mapped that it is nothing down there past Hawksness.
Yeah.
Or, what was it down there? Was it Hawksness?
It was Grave.
Oh, Grave.
It's the only thing to be seen. He hasn't even seen Rim yet, which is on the way between those two spots. But yeah, like, it's one of those things where it's hard to tell what is going wrong in Nightdew's system here, because obviously I think you never want to try to fully explore one direction and just ignore another direction, because you're probably going to get to a point where it's much quicker to go in one direction than it is the other, and that's the case in this situation, and it would lead Nightdew to Mountain Cave, to Garenham, to just a bunch of stuff, as opposed to the other direction, which seems to lead so far to absolutely nothing. I think one danger that might be causing it, though, is Nightdew is generally trying to save money, not die, not take deaths, which means he's going back to coal every time he decides to head out. And if you're at coal, well, one direction is closer than the other, why not head that direction anyway? So it could be a trap based on that, and less so than a mapping mistake or something like that, and just taking the path that he's closer to at the time he decides to explore. But even so, that is dangerous in a seed, and this seed is obviously wanting him to go the other direction.
And it all circles back to that discussion we had earlier, to or not to gold grind. Nightdew elected not to. Atomraptors fudged it at first, but then did go back to do it, so it's, I have to imagine, impacting the decision making, at least to some degree, for Nightdew about just what equipment currently. Of course, it's really at this point, only difference is going to be Silver Shield versus Large Shield, but headed back east. Again, he has not been through this swampy area. We're seeing it on the Atomraptor side, I think, for the first time. So he's not too deep in it, and he's already burned most of his resources just trying to survive this Armored Knight, so probably not going to be headed too much further either.
I think he'll probably sure to get away from that, but after that, like, he's gonna have to be down to herbs and hope, and there's more swamp incoming, and all of this is high encounter tiles. Like, this is, even in Atomraptor's side, with the Silver Shield advantage and Erdrick's Sword advantage when you're swinging at things, it's just not likely to happen.
Oh, Sharlock sighting on Atomraptor's side. First time we've seen that. And it's not an easy walk away, but he's just really looking for just a town to heal up in real quick. Breckenary would be, I mean, we meme on Breckenary, but Breckenary would be fine.
Oh, Ingy Dave pointing out, we did see Sharlock on the other side of Swamp early on. I've completely forgotten about that because of Seed Bleed. But that means this is single continent, which it does mean that going through Swamp Cave actually would have gotten Adam here so much faster.
And back to Hawksness.
And it
He's
leads
like,
to Hawksness.
oh,
So,
right.
so yeah, Adam could have saved numerous attempts going this direction by just going through Swamp Cave, but was just in a situation of not having keys.
All right, atomraptors, after going through that narrow swampy area, went west to find the one continent information. Nightdew has gone east to the eastern edge of the map, is trying to go down here. Unfortunately, runs into like the millionth armored knight in an inconvenient spot, out of heal mores, couple of run blocks in it, is able to get away. So Rickett just desperately really wants to find something. It doesn't even matter if it's a good something at this point, just a place to set your head on a pillow for a few minutes and recover the resources would be outstanding.
Ooh, good level, is that 13 there? Yeah, 13 on Atomraptor's side. A chunk more HP, hurt more. AP didn't move much, although it obviously doesn't need to at this point. A bit of agility, still no MP though, but the HP is honestly very big, especially if you have to swing through things, which honestly, given 38 agility, 38 MP, you're probably gonna want to take, like, at this point, I hate it because again, nothing is good with 38 MP. But if you're fighting something at this point, like take a golem or a red dragon any day of the week.
Well, there was one other thing at level 13 that might want you to take something else, and that is the big old spell of Hurt More. So that opens up the door quite a bit. Now, we haven't seen great spike tiles for that quite yet. I imagine we're going to get a Hawksness check here momentarily, but this, what was it, a stone man in the Swamp Cave is not exactly screaming, grind me with Hurt More.
I mean, it's not screaming that, but it is, again, like, this is actually kind of the niche of high AP, low resources that a stone man kind of thrives in. Like, if you can put it to sleep and kill it without taking any damage, it's better on a spike tile than, like, most other things. And it sucks to say, but instead he's going to be heading back through to go to Hawksness. Definitely, almost certainly the correct play. Could get armor there. Armor would be a massive change right now. Meanwhile, Nightdew, I didn't see where, but has hugged the coast more and found Cantlin instead.
I think it was still, again, I didn't catch it either. I imagine that it was west from what seemed to be the southeast corner, so... Oh, the one advantage that seems to have gone Nightdew's way here. Unfortunately, thou must go and fight. No coordinates.
The one good thing is that Nightdew might also, since it is a single continent, might get sent to the correct place to grab the sword from and token from by virtue of going through Swamp Cave into the back of Garenham. The appropriate response to Brecconary, followed by Atomraptors going back into Hawksness.
Hawksness with the Golem, no flute, 4 heal mores, plenty of attack power. I don't think this is going to be a problem unless the Golem has heal more or something at this point. No stop spell, no flute, so gonna have to just power through. So far, so good.
Meanwhile, Nightdew continuing to try to head more southerly, easterly. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure that's not the direction the stuff is, but speaking of stuff, that is Erdrick's armor under the Hawksness spike tile.
Find and grind and go for Atomraptors. He needs to... We haven't found either turn-in, I don't believe, although that might be one right there. Right on cue. But yeah,
there's anything left. Or maybe there is, because he didn't... Oh, there he is. So yep, there it is right there. And it's the perfect find order, because he found the appropriate one first.
All right, a rainbow drop turning away for atomraptors from being truly in grind and go mode. I have to imagine that the grind spot is going to be that golem there, but I'm not sure how close we are to a place to heal. That would be the one concern here. If it is far away from anything, with no flute in hand, those golems are very resource intensive.
Yeah,
And we don't have a lot of MP to work with.
You can go through Swamp Cave, but that is rough. I think there was also something bad on that level of swamp / the first level of mountain. I can't remember what. But I think there was maybe something dangerous in there. But, like, even if not, that's going out of Hawksness, back through Swamp Cave, into Garenham, doing the door again, so you're going to have to keep up on keys. It's a bit annoying, all told.
Yeah, that definitely does not seem like what you'd want to do to maintain a grind. We've seen quite a few Sharlock tier enemies sort of all throughout the overworld. Overworld grinding is still a possibility, still no repel, unfortunately, so that's kind of not ideal for that reason, among others. And the other option's the Stone Man.
Honestly, right now, the thing I would most like to find would be like a zone that you don't actually want to repel because it's got like a wizard in it. Right now, like a wizard would be my ideal enemy as atomraptors. Which is why it probably has Sleep DL2.
I don't know that we've seen any wizards so far in the sea, but you're right. I mean, not only are they great targets for attacking down, it's defense broken with the Silver Shield in this case, so that would be an ideal enemy to find, but not necessarily the type of thing that you're going to go and actively look for.
Yeah. The other rub is, like, honestly, the golem would be so much... It's... speaking as someone who likes not taking up the flute, it feels bad to say this, but this is also kind of prime I wish I had flute territory, and based on what we know, it has to be the final chest of grave. For atomraptors, it obviously could be the 4th chest of grave, but we know it's not, or it's in Sharlock, so it's not something you really want to go out of your way for, but it would be really nice to have if you were atomraptors right now.
Very, very true. And then the other possibility that we haven't really discussed would be to head into, like, at least the top floor of Sharlock and see if there's anything worthwhile there. Of course, that's after we get the drop and do all that. But again, you still run into the same problem of, am I going to actually be able to sustain resources here? And
Yeah.
Hawksness is the closest town. You've got Swamp Cave nearby, which you'd have to go through to Garenham to heal, which is not efficient. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of decision making as to where this grind is going to take place once atomraptors finds his last location here.
One thing I will say is, yeah.
Go ahead.
One thing I will say is I don't know, because again, they both got to these 2 different areas by going northeast and then south from there. I don't know that he's actually that far away from where Nightdew is, and if so, there's 2 healing towns right there, including the cheap Motel 7 at Breckenary, so Motel 6. So, like, technically that's an option, but he's going the wrong way for it.
That is true. I didn't think about it that way. In fact, they're literally in this exact same spot right now. They're like 3 tiles. They're like 3 tiles apart. They're just high-fived on this armored knight here.
So now we know exactly, and we also now know that is Jerk that atomraptors is maybe potentially going to be doing, but he's going south, which is actually good for him because he's going to find those towns, and since he has armor, he's not going to take all that damage from the swamp. I think Adam is now in a commanding lead because he's going to be able to wrap this up soon, as long as there we go, goes and finds those 2 towns. So yeah, he's found 2 towns. Turns out that isn't that far away. I think that's probably the play. It feels bad at this MP total to make this trek. But also the stats are such that you can probably kill anything you find along the way. So yeah, I imagine he's potentially going to search out for drop first. We know it's obviously not this direction. But like he's now secured like probably the best path. It's tough to say.
I think level 14 made it a lot clearer. 36 MP, so now a respectable, not Dragonlord ready total, but certainly a grind ready total of 74. Up over into triple digits on HP. Strength is pretty close to where we would need it to be. Again, it's just going to depend on what the other stats are. 125 attack power, 6 to 12 damage, 9 on average. Certainly not going to get there on 9 heal mores. But we're getting to the range where we're looking for the level TM.
Meanwhile, unfortunately for Nightdew, this does mean his directions have taken him the opposite way from Hawksness and Swamp Cave. So again, just narrowly missing out on the correct way to go to get to the sword and the token.
And that equipment gap and fighting some of these Sharlock tier enemies a lot more efficiently, or just fighting them at all, versus Nightdew having to run, not only not having the sword, not having hurt more yet, having not reached level 13. That XP gap that was like 800, then 600, then 400 has ballooned to nearly 2,000 at this point. So again, atomraptor is definitely in the driver's seat if he can navigate his way back to where the drop cave is.
And honestly, even if he can't, like, the Golem, especially now, is obviously much better now that you have some MP to use on it. But we've seen enough on the overworld where it's like, yeah, sure, you'll take that. Like Star Wyverns, not like I don't like them that much, but yeah, sure, you'll take that if you find it on the overworld. So he's getting some of his leveling down while trying to find Rainbow Drop. And it's not like Nightdew is on a more effective grind right now, so he's probably gonna still be able to keep a solid lead here.
I'm sure he'd feel a lot more comfortable if he had Repel for all this walking around, but as you said, he's getting still quite a few good encounters here. He has the ability, if he were to cast Repel, once he has it, or use Fairy Water, which I think he just checked his inventory for. Fortunately, he does not have it. Would be repelling the bottom 4 enemies in Sharlock, so your Star Wyvern, your Wizard, your Werewolf, and your Green Dragon are now repelled at level 14 with all the equipment, with 88 defense. That also will come into play when it comes to Sharlock. He will have the potential, assuming he does use Repel or Fairy Water, to encounter many fewer encounters versus Nightdew, who elected not to gold grind.
Yeah, it's definitely going to loom large as well. Like, if he wants to, he can just skip out on some encounters soon. Obviously, he still needs at least one more level, and to be fair, that level could be go. But even then, like, it means a lot more enemies are broken by him, and that makes them much easier fights. It looks like Nightdew is over by Sharlock now, so I believe this is around where Swamp Cave and Hawksness were. I can't remember exactly where.
It should be just west. Right there. And there. And atomraptors is back. I think he just needs to go west across this bridge, but he's going east. Don't forget to go west. Will the map boss strike again?
Unfortunately for Nightdew, hasn't seen Staff Cave, hasn't seen some things to know that potentially, like, if you've seen Staff Cave, which he's about to, then I think you know that at that point... No, wait, he hasn't seen Mountain either, so yeah, he just... If he had more information, he would know that he could just go through Swamp Cave and get to Garenham and get the heal he so desperately needs right now. But unfortunately, he's just not quite in the situation where he knows that much. But we'll at least get his heart traded in.
I mean, at this point for him, with this cave sighting and him already having found Drop Cave, it's a 50-50 that Swamp Cave either heads into the back of Garenham versus it doesn't, and Mountain's in the back of Garenham. So I think he's got to backtrack and go through and play the odds there. Or head into Hawksness.
This is not going to be a winnable fight with no MP, I don't think. No, he's not heal walking. Yeah, this is going to cost him his life, and that's actually going to be very bad, because then he's going to have to walk all the way back here. That is going to be brutal. Maybe he sees it and runs away from it, but, like, I think he's probably going to try taking it. Well, no, he has... Oh, no, he didn't herb up to full. Yeah, Yeah, I don't think this is winnable, but he does run away. Okay, good for him. So just needs to go into Swamp Cave and go out the other side.
Atomraptors has crossed the bridge. Very close now to the drop cave, so bad news for Nightdew, great news for Atomraptors. Should be wrapping up the rainbow drop here relatively quickly.
He's crossed the Rubicon? The die is cast?
Perhaps. Alea iacta est. There it is.
And a Golem here to help him get a early start on that grind, especially with the excellent move there.
Alright, Wing Knight for Nightdew as well. Unfortunately, no good prizes there, really. But does get the good news about the heal, I suppose, and the fact that Mountain Cave is elsewhere. We know it's nearby. Hopefully leaves and sees that it is literally 2 steps away.
Yeah, this isn't as into date.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Stones. I
You're
think
right.
it's like west and maybe a little bit to the north, which is the one scary thing. He could pick a wrong direction here and get caught up for a while, because there was I would say a fair bit of area in this area, a fair bit of land in this area to explore. That said, he's also instead going to go back and take on the Hawks and Spike, which is honestly very understandable.
For the information that he has, this makes the most sense. I agree. You have to check that. Again, it could be the flute, of course. In his case, it could be the token. Regardless, it's 2 in 3 chance outside of whether or not it's anything at all that he does need whatever is there. Plus, it could be a very good grind. We know that it pretty much is. Probably the best option.
Warlock's taunting Atomraptors on his approach, and the Golem's lesser cousin doing the same. But he finally gets the Spike Tile and will begin his endgame grind. Doesn't need much at all, just needs some combination of MP, AP. Honestly, a bunch of HP would do it too, because then maybe you just gamble on getting doubles, but would need some of the other stats as well in that case still.
Now, let's find out right now. Level 15. 1, 1, 1, 1, and 2.
That ain't it.
XP lead at this point, now almost 4,000 for Atomraptors. I hate to call anything insurmountable in DWR because Sherlock is truly the great equalizer. You never know what you're going to find in there. I don't think we've seen anything super duper ultra scary other than just, I guess, many, many red dragons would be bad. We haven't seen any spooky abilities.
To answer a question in chat from McFruit on how sketchy this is at 15, functionally impossible. I am about as aggressive as a racer there is, I think, in terms of diving, and I would not consider it. Even with full fairy water, you're basically hoping for a miracle.
Yeah, you're looking at what, like 17 attacks to win with 9 heal mores? It's A little bit less, maybe 15 with fairy waters, but yeah, it's not going to happen. Very low chance for doubles. You're looking at hurt more to win at this level. And the golem grind here, he does have to depart fairly frequently for the MP refill, but other than that, this is a very fast grind to get another level.
And he also manages to find some enemies, not this one, on the way back that he can fight, like this. Well, yeah, that's not to take it. Maybe it had an ability, but like he can find some enemies along the way that equalize out the time loss from walking back in here. As long as he keeps up on keys, this is very fast, and if it isn't, then he just walks back to the other towns that are nearby. So there's really no reason to leave. Meanwhile, Nightdew, again on the correct side of Garanham, but still not exploring this direction, still just taking grinding. Needs both exploration and gear, but obviously, if Nightdew got the sword and mountain cave, which is nearby first, would be making a lot shorter work of some of these golems. And we'll finally elect to do that.
Right. He's headed in the right direction. I believe it is at the end of this long, narrow areas where we found Mountain Cave much earlier for atomraptors, who's back into Hawks. Let's try to finish off this level 16. We'll need 3 golems to do it. Now 2.
Yeah, I wasn't there. I think it's basically to the north west, and then you go southwest off that somewhere. But I could be mistaken. This, again, I don't even remember which race we mentioned it in, but not mapping in one of these can prove to be a bit troublesome for commentating. But I think it's right here.
Yeah, they look similar. But yes, this will be Mountain Cave for Nightdew. So good news for Nightdew. It's gonna wrap up what is needed here. We'll still have to do the drop trade in. He knows where it is. He's already seen that. But unfortunately, with 4,000 XP deficit and homework yet to do, is going to require something catastrophically bad for atomraptors to mount to come back here.
It feels like the Nightdew's best shot is a sketchy level that is better than this. The problem is, while this level is sketchy, it doesn't take much to make it not sketchy. Like, it's so very go adjacent that to become very slightly go off this would be actually kind of a challenge for a level to hit, I feel. So it's a very rough situation.
Well, our answer is coming. Atomraptors, level 16, 1, 6, 36, and 7. Well, we don't have the death necklace, but it is either at the bottom of Sharlock or at the bottom of the grave, or I guess at the judge's table. So that would certainly make it all go no play for me. But looking at the numbers as they are and playing the odds game,
I'm gone here. I potentially don't even use the death necklace, because this is like that HP total and fairy water you can honestly make work. But he's not going to do it, because again, that's just like I think a lot of racers really don't like to trust low AP stats, even if you can get easy fairy water. And to be fair, I don't know that it's entirely possible he just walked into one of the towns, Breckenary, and healed. But yeah, like, this is, even without Death Necklace, I feel this is pretty easy go, and the HP total means Sharlock is going to be a breeze. And I say that knowing full well I've cursed both of our racers to, like, I don't know, Wombo Wizards. I don't know that we've seen Green Dragons, maybe Wombo Green Dragons, whatever.
Token and Erdrick's armor picked up out of the mountain cave for Nightdew, so Nightdew just needs to do the turn in. It's not a quick, easy walk, but we'll be headed probably. I mean, you could try to do the grind first and then do the turn in later. If you're me, you'll forget to do the turn in until you get to the door, and then you're like, right, my rainbow drop. It's on the table right next to the door. Ah.
Yeah, luckily I think Sherlock and the Rainbow Drop Cave are in kind of the same rough area across Swamp. So you can do that in any order, really. But yeah, it just has to make up time. And unfortunately for Nightdew, like, that level is so good that, like, if Atomraptor's level 17, which he will almost certainly hit before Nightdew hits 16, contains anything more than zeros across the board, I have to imagine Atom is going. Full stop.
No, 100%. And I think, another reason to potentially just do this, if Breckonator or Cantlin are in any way out of the way, or if he didn't have enough resources to get to 17, I totally would potentially support doing that. But in this case, this grind is so fast, and it is going to be so easy for him to just pick up the level here without leaving. This might even be faster than dumping the inventory and looking for fairy waters and walking it back anyway.
Yeah, that's the one thing, is like, you do want fairy waters on this level to make it work, and obviously just getting, yeah, I think actually you're right. Like, I think it's one of those situations where if he had gotten fairy water beforehand, it made sense to just go, but not having gotten it, it makes sense to just keep on leveling, and that will get him a go without fairy water, so gone.
Yeah, at this point, you don't even need to check the treasury and look for the death necklace. I know that he hasn't gotten to the bottom chest of the grave either, but I don't think it's worth even looking. Now, looking at the stats, 132 attack power, looking at 8 to 16, 12 on average, 14-ish attacks to win. With only 10 heal more sounds bad, but with 154 hit points, you are probably going to get at least 2 doubles, if not more. So I think he is in a great position to take this down if he chooses to go right away. Nightdew continuing the overworld traversal, picking up XP and enemies along the way. Is going to take out that armored knight. It's about halfway now to level 15. We know that it's not going to be enough. Seems like he's still looking for things. There aren't any locations that he hasn't seen, to my recollection.
It could
Perhaps
be
trying to get back to Drop Cave?
Yeah, I'm thinking that's probably it. It could just be that he's not exactly certain on where Drop Cave was in this entire mess, because it is obviously probably a bit of a confusing map, in his case especially.
Atomraptors into Sherlock, about 121.45. So far, Axe Knights, not too scary. More Axe Knights, also not too scary. Axe Knight with a shield. Still not super scary, although one of the harder enemies to run from.
Yeah, I think the only thing that could potentially break this dive up is something having an ability, and we've seen most of Sherlock, I feel, and none of it has presented any danger.
Yeah, barring a Red Dragon Parade and bad run luck, I think Atomraptors is going to have a fairly comfortable walk through Sherlock here, or at least the potential to. I know, commentators curse, etc., but the numbers are clearly there for atomraptors in this case.
Meanwhile, on the other side, Nightdew back at Tenajol, filling up on keys. I'm not sure why. I didn't see what happened. Looks like full MP, so maybe got sent home by something, but I'm not sure what it would have been.
Bottom floor for atomraptors, and he is going for the treasury, so he's looking for the death necklace. Not necessary, but I mean, if it makes you feel a little bit more comfortable, we know that he has the lead and the time to burn here, but we'll see if he indeed finds it. We've got the torch.
Here, judge's
The
table.
flute! Yay!
I mean, the flute's not nothing if the spike tile is a golem, but it's still probably not that useful.
Fairy water, gold fighter's ring. Okay, that was still outstanding as well, so that is 2 extra attack power, makes it even more solid. And the death necklace.
Yeah.
That would seem to be ball game.
Feels like now the only way DO2 has a shot is if Atomraptors has secretly been playing co-op the entire time and his partner sells the armor. Nothing else barring a miss menu, but like even a miss menu, there's very little reason to risk a miss menu when you've got this much HP anyway, so.
Showing that Axe Knight who's boss, critical attack, 1 shot down. Atomraptor's about to be declared a fool. We'll have 5 herbs, does not need to play the herb game. We'll see if he elects to equip the death necklace here. Does not need to, but since he did go looking for it, he may, and indeed does. So he will drop down to 116 hit points, so he will need to pay attention to his hit points a bit, but up to 144 attack power, 11 to 22. 2-shot DL1, nice. Doesn't need to worry about any high physical attacks with well over 90 defense. So here we go.
Always feels good when you can get through DL1 and see it broken.
With 17 and 16 is 33, now 47. $67. Not doing it. 84. $98. $112. $124. $140. Decent odds to win in this swing. About 50-50.
And if not, guaranteed on the next.
And there it is, 152. Low rolling DL2. GG's for Atomraptors is going to pick up his first win in the group stage in Hawksness. Finish time to come.
looks like we'll have an hour, 28 minutes, and 3 seconds officially on that win.
And showing it off there, Dragonlord 150. Minimum roll HP on the Dragonlord. As Nightdew picks up the drop almost simultaneously, so it's not going to feel good. We'll see if Nightdew elects to finish things out here. And did pick up level 15. We know that it's not really enough. 16 is doable with some setup. But we'll see what Nightdew does here. Hopefully we can get Atomraptors in to hear his thoughts.
Nightdew, meanwhile, maneuvering around. I'm not sure exactly for what, because he's still checking an area right there that was just a dead end. Might have gotten a bit lost in this area. Meanwhile, welcome into the booth. GG to the winner, Atomraptors.
Hey, thanks. Really strange race. I don't know if it was like a jet seed or not a jet seed, but yeah, there's a ton of map to cover and not a lot of MP to do it with. I definitely gave up, you know, a ton of time just doing random thing, but I think it was impossible not to give up a ton of time. Like, you know, exploring the right way would have been really hard, given the nature of the map.
Yeah, neither of you managed to right order much in terms of just managing to find everything in the exactly correct order, but you managed to find it in a better order than Nightdew and managed to pull out the win. Another big deciding factor was you did an early gold grind, and Nightdew was actually the first to find Grave and decided to skip the gold grind, and that really seemed to play out pretty heavily in your favor early on.
Oh yeah, I think the gold grind was super important just for survivability. Like, I even considered checking other shops. So you got broadsword, half plate, and silver shield and coal, and that was before I found any other towns. I considered, even after finding Erdrick's sword, just like checking shops for magic armor and re-grinding, just because like our MP was so low and even our HP wasn't that good, and you were just having to fight through a ton of enemies. I ended up not doing it or whatever, and the half plate ended up working okay. But yeah, I mean, a magic armor would have been, like, in hindsight, I wish I would have gotten the magic armor as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure what shop it might have rolled into, if it rolled into any. Obviously, for you, there wasn't a lot of shop checking after you had your gear, and I don't believe Nightdew checked much. Did end up getting to large shield, half plate, and broadsword, basically through repeatedly grabbing gold chests from places and just getting money off fighting things. So obviously, since then, hasn't really checked too many shops himself either. And we'll be starting his grind now to get to level 16 and potentially 17 on the Stone Man here.
Yeah, the level was also really interesting here. So I did not have Fighter's Ring or Death Necklace. And I think at 16, either one, it was really close. Certainly if I have the Death Necklace, I'm going. But I didn't check Deep Grave, and I didn't know if Cantlin's search spot was on or not. So I was like, oh, if I dive down there, I have a pretty low percentage chance of actually winning if I get neither. And then there's also judges table that I, would have skipped. But like, yeah, I ended up, because the golem grind, it was pretty good. I just like, I'll just take these 2 minutes and I'll check anyway, I ended up checking anyway because level 17 wasn't that great either. But it was a really interesting go level situation for me.
Yeah, that was actually the subject of a lot of conversation in the booth and chat. We were basically discussing like the viability of 16 with fairy water, and I think by the time we finished the conversation, you had already hit 17 because the golden spike tile was just so fast once you got 16 that like it was like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense to just sit there then. Yeah, why bother going to fill up on fairy water?
That played a lot to it. Well, no, going to fill up on fairy water, taking the level was so much faster than filling up on fairy water. Fairy water was so far south, and Cantlin and Breckenary were next to each other. And so I didn't have a fairy water basically the entire seed. Yeah, I definitely agree that fairy water would have done it too. Like, I mean, yeah, certainly super close. But I thought taking the level, even the level wasn't that great, honestly. It was like more is Death Necklace HP, I think. Or even more HP or whatever. But it didn't give it gave enough strength that I was confident diving and winning if I didn't get anything. But yeah, I checked it just to make it like I'll say super safe.
Yeah, it definitely ended up being the right decision. I don't know if you felt like you were in the lead, but obviously if you did, like, getting that extra level, especially on the golem, is going to be really quick and just secure you the win from any Sherlock shenanigans anyway, so definitely worked out.
I had a really hard time figuring out if I needed to, how far ahead or behind I was, because, looking at the, I'm a map drawer, and I'm looking at my map and I'm like, there's no way you could have right ordered this. But as I'm playing, I was just like, oh, I've done all these things wrong. I've traveled around the world 3 times. I had a pretty tough start. I just died a lot early on. So there's a bunch of things that weren't going in my favor. So it wasn't obvious to me if I was ahead or behind. I think if I was, if I felt like super behind, yeah, I just dive in, take my chances or whatever at 16.
Meanwhile, Nightdew hitting that level 16 is technically go if he wants to go get fairy water, or just dive and hope the Death Necklace is there. And
yeah, that was a quick search. I went way faster or way longer on my think. looks like he thinks this is good.
To be fair, having already lost the race does have the ability to make a decision like that a lot faster because, if you die, you just forfeit.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Oh yeah, I was really worried that so I went through the swamp cave pretty like maybe my first time to Garenham, and then I just like went the wrong way and didn't see Hawksnest, so I'm like, oh, this armor is actually like kind of accessible, and I didn't get back to it for like another half hour. And then another thing that really stopped me is there was at one point where I was going to go through, but then I have like, oh, I have 1 key and I still have Cantlin out. So if I hit Cantlin, I can't check the chords. So I had to like, I went the other way or whatever and like looped all the way around the world. Found that it was a single continent. Somehow. Well, yeah, it was a single continent. And that the swamp cave was just kind of like a miniature shortcut. Wasn't even that short.
Yeah, that was actually another deciding factor in the race. I don't know that Nightdew even now is entirely certain that it is single continent. because Nightdew has only ever seen Garenham by going through swamp. Basically, he just hit, I believe, Grave. He found it very early, and just kept deciding to go northwest instead, and then follow along that path. So he basically found a lot of those locations that you did by going backwards through Swamp Cave. So that really meant that you had a long period of having the sword, of having the token.
Oh, right.
and
Because
a
yeah,
lot of
the mountain.
information.
Oh, okay. That makes a ton of sense. Why there's a gap? Like sword was just massive. Like we had no MP. We didn't have hurt more. Even when getting hurt more, we didn't have like enough to like take down a bunch of enemies. And so having like the sword official, like I took down a bunch. I like attacked a bunch of axe knights down, which I'm pretty sure wasn't possible with the I tried. But I failed on my broadsword attempts. But once I got Erdrick's sword or whatever, that was a huge upgrade. I had a hell of a time trying to find the turn-in caves. They were out there.
Yeah, I think it was the reverse on that for both of you, and that Nightdew found Rainbow Drop Cave really quickly, but did lag behind to get the Staff Cave. Well, I say really quickly, like maybe 10, 15 minutes before you did. So not
Right,
like...
yeah, that makes sense. I would have been shocked if I was first to Rainbow Drop Cave. I went, I think it was the last location. Like I knew it was there. But I had just decided to go the other way and found like the Cantlin Brecken area, which I didn't need at all. Whatever. And there was a ton of space down there. And I kind of had to double back to make sure I was covering my bases and all this stuff where it's just like, yep, this is the actual last location on a very, very sprawling map. So I was getting a little worried because my map drawing didn't give a lot of space for there to be a bunch of stuff there, but there was a decent amount of space. But I was getting really worried because one of my biggest fears when racing is that I just flat out miss a location. Because that's just like, you lose a race immediately if you just don't find something like the Rainbow Drop Cave.
Speaking of finding things, Nightdew has made it to the bottom floor, and we'll be finding all the various miscellaneous items here.
Yeah, everything
including...
left.
We'll get 12 more attack power based off the fighter's ring and equipping the death necklace, so is absolutely go with a bullet to get through this fight now as well. Hasn't used any resources down here.
Yeah, my dive was super easy too. I've been watching. Yeah, Nightdew's dive is about as easy as mine was, which is nice.
I would say the main difference so far right now is that Nightdew was you were able to repel some of these werewolves on the bottom floor that have come at Nightdew, I think 5 times in a row now, but finally get something he wouldn't have repelled anyway.
Yeah, my repel wasn't up the whole dive or whatever. I'd rather have a heal than repel, but like once I got the fairy water, I'll use this. And that actually worked. Yeah, Nightdew actually having to use an entire herb, which is one more than I had to use on my dive, which is pretty fortunate. I would have wished for that kind of Sharlock dive on my other races where it was much closer.
The game does not award things as you want them, sadly.
That is incredibly true, but that's what makes it fun.
Feels like this zone has to be double werewolf, given how many Nightdew has run into on this bottom floor. But we'll make it to the spike tile finally and buzz all through this Axe Knight.
Yeah, free Axe Knight.
All right, Nightdew is going to equip the Death Necklace. We'll go up to 139 attack power. 9 to 19 will be the range, 14-ish on average. Down to, what is that, 113 on the hit point scale. So we'll need to pay attention to that, especially with 49 on the table without the Silver Shield in hand. But should be in a pretty reasonable position here. And not free, with only 10 heal mores. But should be still pretty good. Trying to bait the stop spell here by using the herbs. So far, not so good, but does get a low rolling hurt more. Goes in at 99 with first strike, has got to be feeling pretty confident about his chances. And he indeed does get first strike, opening with 17. Now 31. $41. $60. $70. Couple of low rolls here. $85. $101. In great shape. We know the Dragonlord also has minimum hit points at 150. 115. $127. $145, and we'll win on the next swing. We'll heal more here. Of course, it's not guaranteed for him, according to his math, but according to ours, it is. And there it is, 157. Plenty to secure the Ball of Light, and we'll wrap up the seed. So GG's to Nightdew, and good on him for sticking it out in this seed that was, I have to imagine, fairly frustrating beyond the very, very early game. Just couldn't quite get things rolling there after those initial few levels.
We'll finish with a time of 1 hour, 45 minutes, and 33 seconds.
See if Nightdew has any comments. I don't know if I would have positive comments if I were in that position, but you know, sometimes that's just how these seeds go. Sometimes you go the right way, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you find the right things in the right order, sometimes you don't. So, like I said, good on Nightdew for finishing it out. That's something that I like to do as well. It's just, you know what? Things in the right order, sometimes you don't. So, if I'm taking the time to do it, I'm going to do it right. So let's go ahead and win. Nightdew for finishing it out. That's something that I like to do as well. It's just, you know what?
Speaking of doing it right, Nightdew has joined right here. I don't know how I was going to connect that, really. Welcome into the booth, Nightdew. GG. Joined right here. I don't know how I was going to connect that, really. Welcome into the booth, Nightdew. GG.
Could be a push-to-talk situation, not sure. Hopefully we'll get Nightdew in here. Could be a push-to-talk situation, not sure.
Yeah, for some reason it dropped my push-to-talk keybind. Okay, sorry about that.
Welcome in, thanks for being here. GG to you. How do you feel about that race?
I felt in jail for most of it. I was feeling really good about finding early grave, nothing there, finding early coal, then trying to remember when someone died there. I'm like, why did I not grind for that silver shield? About 10 minutes after the fact, but it didn't feel too bad after that. Just kind of the long and winding road just to find anywhere after that. Still never found Rim.
Yeah, the decision not to gold grind was definitely one that came up fairly immediately. Both of you headed into Grave. You had already seen Grave. Atomraptors hadn't seen it yet. So had the benefit of, you know, saw coal, knew that the equipment was there and whatnot. So yeah, that decision to not do the gold grind, I definitely think played a certain role. Obviously didn't have the silver shield throughout the seed, but I think probably more importantly just didn't have the broadsword right away. It would have equalized out the hurt damage there in the very early game and saved a lot of the MP, which was just not there for the longest time. Damage there in the very
yeah, 2 seeds, 2 very limited resource. I see everybody getting all these, 50 MP at level 6 and their hurt mores, and I'm just like, no, we don't get that here.
Yeah, that was my first seed over an hour. Both of my previous races were sub-hour, just super jet seed, hurt more, all the thing. This one was, yeah, definitely more of a grind. Apparently, GG's, by the way. But yeah, we went totally different directions. So did you know that this was one continent?
No, not especially. I'm sure there might have been like a little land bridge somewhere. I wouldn't have put it out there. I kind of knew what the water line was, but once I finally found swamp right next to Sharlock, I'm like, well, okay. Oh wait, this is the back of Garenham. Nothing there. Then I get to Hawksness and I have like 1 MP. I see the gold. I'm like, well, I can't take that guy on no heal mores. So, and I have like 2 keys at this point in time. So I'm like, well, I can go back and I can get in there. But obviously with the flute being in Sharlock, neither of us probably had an easy time with that. You probably easier with the silver shield though.
Yeah, I didn't find Hawksness until much after you did. So I went left. And so there's the grave, and then there's Rimmeldar just south of that, the mountain cave just south of that. And then you go, there's a bridge over and a big, like kind of big landmass, and that's where Garenham was. And I found all of that before going east of Cole and finding the other way around. Although I did do that because I took me forever to find the Rainbow Drop Cave and the Staff of Rain Cave, but I found that one a little bit earlier than the Rainbow Drop Cave. I absolutely last located. And I was getting very, very nervous based on how long it took me to find that.
Oh no, yeah, it popped in my head that I was so big into going to Grave. I'm like, there could be something behind Grave, but I just kind of set it off to the side and kept running into the giant swamp off to the east, and that did not play well for me.
Yeah, those were definitely 2 of the big deciding factors in the race. That said, excellent race run despite that. Like, it was a very interesting seed and a very interesting watch for both of you.
Thank you. I always enjoy watching the seeds where the runners do extremely different things. And usually when that happens, one works out significantly better than the other. For example, if, say, Erdrick's sword is one way, like it was in this seed for me, that certainly, I'm sure that helped me a ton.
Yep, that's how it goes. So GG, and yeah, we'll just go for the next one here.
Yeah, GG, and good luck in your future races.
So not sure we have a raid in line. I'll leave that to Diabetes and various admins. Any final comments from either of you before we head out?
Just thanks for restreaming and commentary and tracking and all that fun stuff. I really appreciate it.
Yep, about the same. Absolutely. Thanks for putting this on, and yeah, it's been fun.
Alrighty, that sounds good. Thanks again, guys, for putting on a good show for us. Looking forward, no additional races on the schedule tonight. We do have a race tomorrow, 7 p.m. that will be featured here on DW Randomizer, featuring none other than me, facing against Chirno. That'll be at 7 p.m. on DW Randomizer. We do have a race also at 9 o'clock. Not sure that that will get a DW Randomizer coverage, just with how close they are time-wise, but that will be Beta versus Ryguy, another absolute barn burner. So a lot of good racing happening tomorrow and will be happening all throughout the week. Tuesday has a ridiculous slate of races, so look forward to all of those upcoming this week. So we're going to send things off to Fred Coughlin, who I believe is playing some Zelda 1, so Z1R action. Little bit different than Dragon Warrior Randomizer, but nonetheless, Fred in this year's tournament and great friend to the DWR community, so we're going to send things off to him. So on behalf of our restreamer, Tanuki Monster, our tracker, NG Dave, on behalf of my partner here in the booth, Secret Agent Mand, I'm Diabetes II. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a good night, and we will see you next time.